Hey, Peter, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here. I'm super excited for this interview.
All
Thanks
right.
for coming to one of our first ones ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'd feel bad if I wasn't at one of your first ones ever. I mean, I think we've been part of this whole journey. We've done so many things over the last year, firsts together. So I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things that, we have done that maybe the audience doesn't know about is that we've done this kind of Tony Robbins journey together for the last year. And it's been really great spending all that time with you this past year at different events. And yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we just jump in? So, one thing, just for the audience who doesn't know you, if you wouldn't mind just kind of talking to us a little bit about your background and then how you started PIMD and became a businessman.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there. My name is Peter. I'm an anesthesiologist and I specialize in OB anesthesia. And I'm here in Los Angeles, California. And trust me, I had no intention of starting a business when I did. Started Passive Income MD. Kind of the story is that, I started my whole goal in life, well, at least up for the last 10, 15 years prior to that was I just want to get a great job in medicine. I wanted to be an OB anesthesiologist. I didn't always want to be an OB anesthesiologist, but when I kind of really focused on that, I just wanted to get a great job in a great location and that sort of thing. And I got it. And I felt like, okay, I am now truly set. Here's the next 20, 25 years of my life. It's going to be fantastic and great. I'm a physician here in Los Angeles. And then a couple things happened at work where I realized, yeah, I'm not in control of my life. And what really happened, to be honest with you, is my shifts were cut. I mean, it was really handed down to me from my boss. Just like one day, here it is, boom. And next thing you know, my income was cut. I'd say almost 20, 25%. It could be potentially. So I was like, wait a minute. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I remember thinking, this is bad. This is not what the kind of life that I expected. And so instead of just being angry about it, which I was for a while, to be honest with you, I started figuring out, okay, what else is out there for me? I mean, what are other physicians doing in this situation? Because other people have for sure figured this out. And that's when I started investing in real estate. And I don't want to get to that story too much right now, unless you want to talk about it later, but started investing in real estate, started kind of creating that financial freedom. Money started coming in from other sources of income. And it kind of changed my whole outlook on medicine, on life, on family, career, and this sort of thing. And I was telling everybody that I could about it. And at some point, I think they just got tired of hearing me talking about it, that they said, hey, why don't you put it online? Write a blog about it. And, it took me about a year to finally get the courage to do it. I mean, I bought the domain name like 1 year, and then it took me a whole year before I posted my very first blog post. And I just put it up online and I wrote 10 blog posts and I said, okay, if I can do that and it makes some sort of impact, I can see some, at least little growth from that, then I'll continue. And it just happened that, one of my first blog posts just started to really gain traction out there. And then that's where it began. And again, intentionally, it wasn't intentional that it became a business, but over time, as most people will find, as you start to make more and more of an impact, if you're like, your intention is to create value for people and really just help people, ultimately these things like kind of like morph into businesses, because honestly your time is valuable as well, and you figure out a way to get compensated for your time, and people want to compensate you for your time when you're actually providing that value. And so that's kind of how it kind of all just started.
Very cool. So one thing I heard in that is that you started the business and then it took you about a year to take action. So I feel like a lot of people get stuck, right? They start, but then they get caught in analysis paralysis or whatever reason, and maybe they feel really overwhelmed by all the different steps to do. And it sounds like you got over that year of whatever you want to call it by just saying, you know what, let me do 10 posts and that'll be my start. So can you talk a little bit more about that? How did you get over that hump?
Yeah, I like to say it was a process, but the things that we've learned is that there's a process, but there's a point where you make a decision, right? And that's when things
Mm-hmm.
change. And even though it was a year of sitting there and I thought about it, how do I start a blog? How do I do this? At one point I was like, okay, I just got to get out of the dugout. I got to go out there and play. I got to just do it. And I think that happened. I'm trying to remember. I think I had my second kid, and probably the worst time to do it possible, right? If I ever had time before or after my first one, having a second one just like multiplied that. But I was like, okay, really, what kind of life do I want to build here? And do I want to make that impact? If I'm going to do it, it better happen now. So that decision was made, even though I kind of spent that whole year of kind of planning for it. that's when I decided. And then next thing you know, I wrote those 10 posts in like, less than a week. And so that
Wow.
was kind of how it ended up happening. But you're right. There's so much like second guessing of myself. And I think a lot of people do that. It's like, I'm not a writer. I mean, so many voices in my head, right? I'm not a writer. I'm not a business person. I'm not an online marketer. Like, I just can't do these things. I'm busy. I have all these other things going on. And it's so easy for us to kind of like tell ourselves, like, we just can't do this. And still to this day, I'll be honest with you, there are times where that kind of thoughts still come in. So it's not like, I've just got better at kind of like just stepping over them and like almost like acknowledging them and then saying, okay, well, it's okay to feel that way. And then just taking action anyways, right? And that's what I've gotten better at today. But those thoughts still do come in. But that's kind of what, during that whole period, that's what kept me down for a while. And at some point I was like, forget it. I just got to do this, or, kind of like go big or go home. And that's just how it worked out.
Interesting. Was it just you, or was this somebody else? Like did Vicky get involved and like help you along, or was it just you that just decided, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm going to act?
Well, I think there was some element of my wife kind of pushing me. I mean, it's not like she wanted me to take up more of my time doing something else.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had commitments to my family, and I was working and all this stuff. But I think I was just talking about it for a while. And my wife, she's very supportive. I come up with a lot of different ideas, and so she'll usually just listen. But after I start saying an idea, like, "Hey, I think I should maybe this," like, at a certain point, she's kind of funny. She's just like, "Just do it. If you're gonna do it, or stop talking about it." And so it may have been something like that helped push me. But definitely it was my wife. I don't know if there's anything online. I think I did see some other people coming to the space. I know the White Coat Investor was there for a while, right? And I knew about him, and he was a blogger. And then I saw the Physician on Fire, who's now one of my partners, Leaf. He started writing and he started gaining traction. And I was like, oh man, this guy's talking about this stuff too, but a little bit different spin. And I saw that he was gaining some popularity. And, I was like, all right, you know what? Somebody needs to talk about real estate. And so I was like, okay, well, now a couple people are doing this, have proven the concept out a little bit.
Mhm.
And now why don't I try and see what I can do? And that's what happened.
Yeah, I have to, for us, starting our blog, you were an inspiration for our blog. And I think your blog was one of the first ones that we saw. It was
Mhm.
your list of side gigs, I think it was, or
Side
list
hustles.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, side hustles. Yeah. So that really inspired us, and it's great. I just, love the blog.
And it's funny because I actually remember right after our second kid was born, like walking in this park in Hawaii, because we lived there at the time, and Kenji saying to me, like if we're gonna do a blog, we got to get serious. Like you got to step up and start like writing articles, and so it was exactly after our second kid too that Kenji kind of was the person keeping us accountable and being like, we have to get this done, take some steps, and don't
Yeah.
just
I
treat it
mean,
as a hobby.
I think the one thing I've learned through all this stuff is that, there's never a perfect time, right?
Mhm.
Like whoever would think like the perfect time to do something like this is after you've had your second kid or these other things are going on. And so I realized there's just never a good time to do these things. So whenever you decide, you kind of have to just do it then, right? Whenever that's like in your mind, like if anything I've learned along the way, maybe we'll talk about more stuff like this, but if you have the idea, like it's really your responsibility, in my opinion, to kind of just see it through. Otherwise, you're using up so much brain power. Like, kind of, it'll just keep recycling in your head and keep coming up again, keep coming up. Honestly, that's just a waste of energy and time. So either do it at that point and be able to lay it aside, like, okay, well, I tried, didn't work, or just like, otherwise, like, don't do it at all, but just go for it. You know what I mean?
Totally agree. Yeah. I was curious that, when you said that you had those changes in your anesthesia practice, instead of, getting frustrated, or some people might just put their head down and go back to work and work harder, right? But you actually took a different tact. You said, okay, I'm going to actually talk to some people. I'm going to figure out, like, what are some other options here? So, I mean, talk to us about that. I mean, is that kind of something that naturally you grew up, your father encouraged you to think that way, or like, again, because most people, right, they kind of put their head down, but you said, okay, I'm gonna think differently. I'm gonna do things differently. Like, where does that come from? Is that something that came from, your parents or your upbringing? Can you talk us a little bit about that?
Yeah. And so I grew up in a physician household. My father was a physician, and, on my mom's side, my grandfather was a physician. And so there were a lot of like just medical professionals on that side. And it's funny because when I hit college, actually, I almost, I guess it was always kind of predetermined that I was going to be a doctor too, as well. But when I got to college, I was like, all right, I want to try something different. I'm like, everyone expects me to be this way this whole life. And so maybe I should try something different. And I'm glad I did, because I went to economics, I tried all these different things. And I found my way actually back into medicine, and it's nice that I went that route, because I realized I tried something different. Maybe it wasn't for me, or maybe it was. And now it actually kind of is, because it's kind of full circle. I've gone into business and things like that. But I've always tried, different things, and I haven't been afraid to do that. In college, I started up a couple different small little businesses, or I found different ways to create income in college, or just tried a whole variety of things. And I really got in the mindset of really trying to say yes to opportunities whenever it came up. And a lot of them failed, and a lot of them were a waste of time or whatever, but I felt like I learned so many new things from it. I met so many cool people from it, networked, and just picked up a lot of different skills. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, when it happened at my job, I was angry about it for a while. And for about a week, I just like sat there really stressed out. And I remember like I couldn't sleep at night. I was getting really frustrated and things like that. And it actually hurt. I mean, it just like hurt inside. Like I was like, I can't live like this, And I guess I take things really emotionally and something like that. But I was like, I have to figure something else out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see myself kind of grinding like this for the next 30, 40 years. And something that like I learned early on is that, there are just, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to find somebody else doing like something you want to do, and just try to like really just, I don't know, just learn from them. As some people have said in the past, like success leaves clues. And so you just have to figure out what somebody else is doing and kind of like, honestly, copy them, like copy, but then also, I mean, you'll be able to kind of make it into your own. But I've kind of learned that along the way. And, we all do it. I mean, we've all talked to people that have done something and just said, hey, how do you do that? These kind of things. And so when it came to my career, I decided to do the same thing. And it became really obvious to me, because I remember seeing those people even before this was all going on. And I remember seeing those doctors before, and they were happy. They were traveling a lot. They were doing all these things. And I remember some point it was like, man, I should probably ask that person, like, what are they doing? Like, how are they able to kind of live like that? But I was never really motivated to do that, like super motivated, because I thought I was living a pretty good life. But when this happened, it kind of just, it kind of kicked me in the butt to gave me enough pain to make me do that.
Yeah. So that's really awesome. I mean, like we have had the same experience, right? Where we see somebody doing something and we realize that it's a possibility for us too. And of course, like Kenshi mentioned, you were one of those people. And then Sunny Smith, another physician that we spent a lot of time with, right? She was the example for us that coaching and then building a course was Bonnie Koo. So there are a lot of people that we see in this space who, set the example, set the standard that it's possible. And then you just follow along behind them and learn from them. And it's really a phenomenal thing when you have this kind of community helping each other and inspiring each other. It's really, really awesome.
I think the other thing that I love about your story is that, this is a perfect example of life happening for you, right? So something happened and, you perceived it at the time, it was a negative. Yeah. You were angry about it. But then if you view it as, okay, well, what's the good that can come out of this? And when we kind of zoom out a few years later, right, that led you to create multiple businesses and be the successful, at least in our rich doc, poor doc, the way we think about it, become a rich doc, right? And have that rich mindset, the rich habits. And so I think that that's awesome that you were able to do that.
I've had failures when it comes to either businesses, investments, like even like, I didn't get my residency of choice. I didn't match the first time, and then I ended up matching it to a different specialty altogether that I didn't necessarily think about initially. But it ended up being the greatest thing for me, especially in my life, it allowed me to get, be where I'm at. Right. And even with some of these businesses and even with my practice, like things like that, it didn't all happen the way I wanted it to, but again, if it happened the way I wanted it to, I wouldn't necessarily have this life that I have today. And so I think it's just amazing to, at least now, to be able to look at it like that. And hopefully when things come up in the future, and I know they will, again, that's a for sure, that I'll be able to hopefully have that kind of perspective.
And one thing about you that I love about you is you're never willing and not willing to try something, right? And it's like Sarah Blakely talked to all of us about at in Business Mastery, is she said her dad always encouraged her to fail, right? To try things new. And if she failed, that was actually something she brought to him, like, you know what, I failed this week, but the fact is I tried this new thing. And that was celebrated, the failures. And so so amazing that you're always willing to jump in, just like joining Tony Robbins Platinum with us. You were like, sure, I'll come to the conference. I'll check it out. Like, whereas most people I think are so afraid of the possibilities of failure or the possibilities that it's not going to work out or all the reasons that it won't, because that's what our brain's looking for, that they never take that first step. So Peter, I know you're juggling a lot right now with your businesses and all the other things you have going on. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on in your life right now?
Sure. I'm having a lot of fun. That's just to start with. I'm trying a lot of different things. I mean, I do still work as a physician. I mean, it's a passion of mine. I chose OB anesthesia and I did a fellowship in it because I'm passionate about it. I love working with that patient population, and it's super gratifying for me. I just don't like doing it all the time, especially nights and weekends. So I work about half my time, like half time clinically at this point, but also I work on a couple different businesses, and primarily I would say I work on two. And the first one is Passive Income MD, which you know about. It's a blog, a podcast now, a conference, courses, a Facebook group. And it's really just grown into a community is what I kind of consider it, where physicians are able to talk about gaining financial freedom through other streams of income, whether it's real estate, investing passively, privately, things like that, right? So I spent a lot of my time on that. And again, it was consumed, I'll be honest with you, it started to consume a lot of my life, probably more than I wanted. And so the biggest challenge for me in that business has been, how do I continue to do what I want to do in that thing, but still have time to be with my family and do all the things that I really love to do? Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of the reasons I started these businesses was to spend more family time, right? To do these things with my, to have the life that I want, the freedom that I want. But if I was just going to replace my clinical time with just businesses all the time, that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. So, I've been hiring a lot of people to help me out with this business. And that's been one of the biggest challenges for me, is figuring out how to hire the right people to help you out to carry on your vision, right? I mean, you want somebody that aligns with your vision and is able to kind of continue to help you to kind of hopefully do big and better things. And so I spend a good amount of my time on that, and I'm still super involved, obviously, in content creation, and we're always trying to come up with new ideas. So it's a learning process. I mean, there's no roadmap for this necessarily. There are people that do this well, and I rely on them quite a bit, but every business is a little bit different. And so through a lot of the businesses, the training that we've done, we've been in a lot of same places. We've gone to some of these conferences and business conferences. I also have the benefit of having people that are like, peers that are like a mastermind groups, right? Like you guys and some other people and things like that. And that's been super helpful in guiding me with these businesses. But yeah, I spent a good amount of my time on that. But I also have a business that's like more like a passion project business. And that's something called curbside real estate, where I help physicians really assemble the right team to buy their homes. Because I really had a difficult time, buying my own home. Couldn't find a good realtor, a good lender. There are these physician loan products, which seem really obscure to me. So I put together a free service for physicians to help them really find that right team and provide just like a third party help for that. And the reason I actually love this business is that we actually made it one of our huge missions to do a lot of social good. And so I think that was one of my big goals as well. When I felt like I'd made it or whatever it was, it's like, not only do I want to do well financially for myself, my family, put us where, in a good place. I wanted to feel like we were doing some sort of global good, making some sort of impact out there. And Curbside allows us to do that because, through a good portion of the profits that come in, we have some really great social projects that we do. We build orphanages in India. We also do some, I would say, like empowerment, skilled trade camps in Africa and stuff like that. So it's been really awesome to have that, because it fulfills a lot of those needs that I have, right? Which is like, I want to feel like, obviously, that I'm making an impact. I want to feel like I'm trying new things. I want to feel like I'm contributing, all these type of things. And so having all these different businesses, streams of income really fills those needs for me. And so that's what keeps me going. And of course, I have all the real estate investment on the side and that sort of thing.
That was me?
Yeah, that was you going. Sorry, man.
It's okay.
You.
Okay. Well, I'm supposed to ask the next question? Okay.
Well, I would comment on his stuff because that was
amazing.
Yeah,
no,
Peter.
That was a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to.
That's a lot of stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. It was really good. No, I know exactly where I'm going with it. Yeah, so there was a lot there, Peter. It was awesome. I'm going to try to unpack that a little bit. I mean, one of the things that we've learned in Tony Robbins is, that everybody has certain needs, right? And I heard some of those needs you mentioned, and we had these same kind of issues as well, in terms of like finding like what are, we need to kind of fulfill our needs to be fulfilled in life, right? And some of the things that I heard you say are like, you needed something, you wanted to grow, right? So you're challenging yourself with these new businesses, right? You're also improving your mindset by going to Tony Robbins. You're also contributing. Contribution is also another big need that people have, and for us as well. We have, for us, it's helping other physicians achieve financial freedom through real estate, right? So we have that kind of mission, and it sounds like you also have that mission. So it's really great to hear, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that the listeners kind of understand, kind of some of what you were saying is that you're fulfilling some needs that make you feel fulfilled in life, and as opposed to what I think a lot of us growing up, we have certain needs like significance, right? We want to feel like we're significant. We want to feel like, we're always trying to achieve. We're always trying to get good grades. We're always trying to get into the best medical schools, and that's kind of like significance, right? And for a while, that's good for people. And then also, the other one is certainty. We all want to be, have certain certainty of love. We want to make sure that, the person that we're with, loves us, right? We want to make sure our kids love us. And so these are some things that, I just wanted to kind of clarify for the readers, some of the things so they can understand, what these needs are and how these needs change over time as you grow.
Yeah. And I think that part of the reason you're so successful is that you're able to contribute through your businesses, which just fuels growth. And that's exactly what we've found too, is if you find a way to contribute through what you do, it's a pull, right? Rather than a push.
Yeah. So love to kind of talk, we've talked about some of your businesses. We'd love to kind of learn about some of the challenges. You've talked about, hiring, but can you talk a little bit more about some of these challenges that, you're encountering in your businesses?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is something that I mentioned at the beginning of this, was that there's always this thought of like doubt that comes in. I mean, it happens a lot. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is that I tend to limit myself quite a bit. And something that I'm always constantly working on is that, I set my goals at like very, very, achievable places, because I'm worried that, hey, maybe I'll fail. Or maybe, I can't achieve. I mean, I kind of tell myself like, oh, I could never do that, and these kind of things. And so one of the biggest challenges has been really figuring out, how can I put myself in the right mindset? How can I continue to tell myself that I can continue to try and achieve these other things, like constantly just telling myself, and just get past that point where I just hold myself back. And I think that's probably been one of the biggest challenges. It hasn't been necessarily financial, or hasn't necessarily been like, mechanics, because I think that once you really set your goals at a certain place, like you figure it out, right? I mean, if your why, or whatever they want to call it, or your mission, whatever, is strong enough, like you'll figure it out. The biggest thing for me has been setting that thing at the right place, right? And that's why it's been so powerful for me to surround myself with other people like you guys and other people, because you hear it, right? I mean, you hear it in other people sometimes more than you hear it in yourselves. And so it's really been one of the biggest impacts, biggest game changers for me, is to put myself in a community of people who are not afraid to challenge each other, right? That are looking to set their sights really high, to not limit themselves, and then really try to achieve some really cool things. And so that's the constant challenge for me. I know it'll always be a challenge for me. So I know I always have to work at it. And that's why I do think something like we did this year with the Tony Robbins Platinum thing, or these kind of things, or reading certain books, or surrounding yourself with certain type of community and people. It's like so important. And I truly am a believer in that saying where they say like success is like, or business, success in business or whatever it is, it's like 80% psychology and really 20% skill. I mean, so much of us, I always thought it's the opposite way, right? I was like, just give me the book and the roadmap how to do it. If I just follow that, I'll be right. But it really isn't anything like that. It's really about constantly figuring out how to, get yourself past that mental barrier to really find that success.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely, I think everybody faces this especially once you start thinking out of what's comfortable, right? I mean, I know for me, I think a lot of why I went into medicine was it was it was a pathway that was clear and it was comfortable, and I knew it would always be secure, right? And so I think I definitely had limits of what I thought I was capable of, and then didn't really even see the other opportunities out there for me. And now you're like sitting next to us in Tony Robbins like financial thing, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to give this much money to buying land and this and this, and I ended up with a net worth of 84 million, right? So you're sitting next to me and I'm like, I'm going for 84 million, Peter Kim, right? And it just helps us, helps us step up, with each other and encourage each other and keep each other accountable now. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think for the listeners, what we're talking about is something called limiting beliefs, and if you can hear it in yourself whenever you say, "Well, we can't do that," or "I can't do this," right? And I hear it in myself still every day. So even despite all the work that that we've done, we hear it in each other still. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and you talked about accountability partners. It's such a whether it's your spouse, your partner, whether it is, like you said, a mastermind or having a group of people that you get together with regularly these days online. When you have that and everybody understands the fact that we all have limiting beliefs, and the tendency is that we all hold each other, we all kind of limit ourselves from what's possible. Then that's the key, is that we can kind of really support each other and help each other. So I
Yeah.
think I love that.
Yeah. And now we've really covered with you kind of your past and the present. Can you tell us where you're going to go? Like where are people going to find you in a couple of years?
That's a good question. I think that, I spent a lot of time lately trying to figure out what my next plan is or what the next goals are. And really it just falls, it really falls in line with kind of the same things I'm doing, but just trying to expand the impact that I'm making. My mission probably will not change. My mission is to help other physicians, people like me, really create their ideal lives, right? Whether that's through real estate, other streams of income, this sort of thing, and really allow them to see what's possible out there. And I love doing it by sharing stories. I love doing it by sharing techniques and goals and things like that. So I'm always going to challenge myself in 5 years. Like, if you find all I have is the same course, podcast, blog, and that, I'll have actually looked at that as almost like a failure. If I'm 5 years, it's all I've done the exact same thing. I'm in the same place doing the exact same things. For me, I'm going to always continue to look at what other people are doing and innovating and that sort of thing. So I'm always exploring new ways to get that message out to people. And who knows what it'll look like in 5 years. I mean, all I know is like, I see the impact that I want to make. And that's like my ultimate goal. Like, you want to make a huge impact for people. I also want to, for me, like I set other goals when it comes to like my relationships, right? Like my wife, like I have relationship goals that I have for my wife, certain type of, partnership, like some sort of extraordinary life with them. I have father goals, right? That I want to have, like, be this kind of father for my kids and spend this kind of time with them. And so, I hope I not only hit those goals, but the thing that I think we've all learned is that it's not just about hitting your goals. It's like, when you hit your goals, like you got to keep setting new ones, right? And so I have 5, 10, 20-year goals. I mean, I don't know if a lot of them are financial. I mean, some of them are financial. I've kind of actually hit a lot of my financial goals, which is like great. But again, I think it's more about like now at this point, like how much can I contribute to others? And that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And remember, to celebrate along the way, right? I think one of the things that we always learn is that we achieve our goals, but we don't celebrate, right? We don't celebrate enough. And so I think learning to celebrate and that'll just kind of enhance and allow you to enjoy it along the way. So I think that's really, really important. So amazing. So, one of the things that we like to close with is a question, which is tied to the name of our blog, Rich Doc, Poor Doc. And so, one of the things that we're really trying to uncover with our podcast is to uncover, the mindset, the strategies, and the habits that separate rich docs from poor docs. So, can you give us it could be a strategy, habit, mindset of a rich doc, and also, can you tell us, what is rich to you, right? Rich is not, presuming it's not just money, but maybe it is. Can you tell us a little bit about what rich is to you?
Yeah. So in terms of one of the biggest change in mindsets that I had from everything that's happened up to now is that I thought I was kind of I guess an innocent bystander, or just like a traveler, a passenger kind of in what's called life, right? Like I just kind of get on the bus and whatever happens to me happens to me. But I realized that no, I can actually take control of what this life looks like, right? Like what my outcome is, what my life looks like, my family life and these kind of things. So one of the biggest things that I've done is really take a hold of what I want, which is set those goals. And then I've kind of on a daily basis, what's changed is that I really kind of started to really focus on those goals, right? Whether it's in the morning when I wake up, my morning habits have changed completely. I mean, I used to wake up at the last possible moment, change as fast as you can, run out the door and barely make it to wherever I'm supposed to make it to. Usually it's work, right? I get there right on time. But something that's really, really made a big impact on me is like a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And he talks about how kind of taking a hold of your morning and changing your morning routine can ultimately totally change the layout of your day and ultimately your weeks, your months, your life. So that's one of the biggest things for me, is that I feel like I've taken a proactive stance when it comes to my life. And that's been huge for me. When it comes to Rich Doc, Poor Doc, again, I think it kind of falls along that same lines. I mean, rich to me, it's like a lot of it's like feeling like, you have some element of control over what you're doing, right? And that comes with freedom and that comes with choice, right? I mean, like, as a physician, I think a lot of people are really unhappy today, not because they're practicing medicine, because they love practicing medicine. That's the whole reason they went into it. They love helping people and the passion, but they feel like they're a slave to it, right? They feel tied to it. They feel out of control. There's no choice there. And the funny thing is, like, and you guys have seen it, when people are able to, especially when it comes to financial matters, like find a way that their, work becomes optional as a physician, a lot of them, tend to stay in it. And why? Because, they love it and they kind of rekindle that passion for it. So I think being rich really means like understanding like, hey, I have control, I have choices. And when you feel that, it doesn't matter like necessarily what's in your bank account or all this stuff. Like, I don't know. I think that's the feeling of rich to me.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and for being on this podcast. Now, for our blog listeners, where can they find you, and tell them a little bit about your course and your conference?
Yeah, sure. Again, we're trying to do all sorts of cool things with the brand Passive Income MD. You can find it on passiveincomemd.com. That's kind of the center of the spoke of the wheel. And beyond that, there's a podcast called the Passive Income MD podcast. We do have a course called Passive Real Estate Academy, where we teach physicians how to invest in private and passive real estate deals, do the due diligence for it, and ultimately find those opportunities. And we have a conference that we have, every fall. Hopefully, I said every fall. We've done it once. There's going to be a second one this year called Financial Freedom Through Investing in Real Estate. And you guys were a big part of it. And we try to bring together, people that have been successful in the real estate space who are able to share about their different techniques, their mindset, things that you guys are doing, kind of that help them achieve the life that they want. And, God willing, with everything that's going on here with, with health and society and coronavirus, hopefully it'll still go on. But yeah, we love to have people come and just participate and just have a good time together.
Yeah, well, we hope so too. We will definitely be there if it happens. And we had such a good time last time, and just seeing all the people in the space was amazing to just kind of, network and build the community. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
You don't want to miss it. If it's going on, you want to be there for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Peter. And we really look forward. We hope you'll join us again. Actually, we'd love to kind of dig into some more things. And again, thank you again for being on the show.
Anytime. Thanks, guys. That was fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.